you for my church, Spirit. Thank you for my church. Thank you for my church, Spirit. Thank you for my beautiful church. My beautiful, my beautiful, my beautiful church. My beautiful, my beautiful, my beautiful church. My friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful. Doctor, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. All right, have a seat. This is the first Sunday of the month. So we are going to wish everyone a happy birthday. Is there anybody in the house that has a December birthday? Anybody here that's with us today? All right, so whether it's our loved ones, far, near and far, that have transitioned, or furry babies, they're all our loved ones, so wish them all a happy birthday, the December babies. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, December babies. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
And many more. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's wonderful to have you all here at Unity Church on the Mountain, and I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure you did. All right.
Oh, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to greet each other.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
like, wait a minute, we're missing something. Go ahead, we're just gonna sing wave while y'all get up and say good morning, or just wave or something. Go ahead and say good morning to each other.
Good morning.
Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together in love. My apologies. We gotta say good morning to our fellow neighbors. That's part of the fun. So go ahead and have a seat. I apologize. I got caught up in the birthday song. I didn't want to miss that. So let's go ahead and have a seat and we'll continue the service.
Good morning.
All right. Let us affirm together our opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God. This is our Christ candle that represents that sweet, divine essence in each and every one of us. Let us say together our vision and mission statements.
Centered in God, we inspire spiritual transformation, creating a world of love, peace, and prosperity. We are an inclusive spiritual community, inspiring, awakening, and serving in love.
And now we come to the children's blessing. And please, I know right away we're going to think about our own precious children, the children in our family. But let us not forget the precious children of this world. We love you. We bless you. We behold the Christ in you. We accept you just the way you are. Walk in beauty. You are divine.
All right, well, we're going to stand again. How about that? Unity Advent Song is the next song we're going to go ahead and do by Carolyn Gauthier. last 3 verses are just like that. As I listen quietly, waiting inside of me, God brings peace and harmony, waiting inside of me, in my mind, in my mind. There is peace in my mind, in my heart, deeply flowing from within, moving inside of me. Love is pouring without end, moving inside of me, in my soul, in my soul. There is love in my soul, in my soul. Last verse. Filled with wonder and with grace, living inside of me. Christ is born now in this place, living inside of me, in my life, in my life. There is joy in my life, in my life. You may have a seat. Thank you.
Will the prayer chaplain bring forward the prayer box, please?
This is our prayer box. We keep it in the back of the room so it's available for you to write down prayers and place them in the box. We'll keep the prayers here in the box until we send them off to Unity Village, where they'll be prayed over at Silent Unity for a month. So now let us enter into prayer. And as we still our minds, we lift up our hearts to that high vibration of spirit. And from this place we hold these prayers, the prayers that are written in this box, and the prayers that are written in our hearts. We hold these prayers up for their fulfillment to the highest good of all. In gratitude we say thank you, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Dean. And now, Will read the daily word.
Daily Word, Hope and Faith, December 1st, 2019. Christ's awareness is born in me. And it reads, hope is the window through which I glimpse the good that is yet to come in my life. Feelings of hopelessness kindle my zeal, imagination, love, and perhaps most important, my faith. As my hope matures into faith, I begin to realize that the good that I am hoping for is already mine. The joy to Christmas is our shared human story of realizing the indwelling Christ present. This journey begins in hope and faith. As I start growing in spiritual awareness, I begin to feel hopeful. I learn that the Christ, the image and likeness of God, is my spiritual nature. My hope for the future becomes my faith in the present as I celebrate Christ's awareness alive in me and expressing as me. Now faith is the assurance of the things hoped for, the conviction of the things not seen. Hebrews 11:1.
Thank you, Will. All right, let us prepare ourselves to say our sacred Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. We are exploring different versions of the Lord's Prayer. This gives that explanation, and then we will share with you another version. Creator God, Redeemer and Sustainer of all that is, may your reality be honored by us and by all creation. May your will be done on earth as it is in your eternal realm. Give us the food we need for our sustenance today. Forgive our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from times of trial and deliver us from evil. For the glory and the power of the eternal realm are yours forever. Amen.
And let us continue to go a little deeper, a little more into that relaxed state. As we breathe together, a big breath in, deeply, and releasing. As we relax, relaxing our bodies and stilling our thoughts, we move a little closer to that Christ within us. And again, breathing deeply in and releasing and relaxing. From this still place, we acknowledge the truth of our nature as spiritual beings, inheritors of the divine directly from Source. Source that we can never be separated from. Source that is always there, our comfort in every need, our supporter in every endeavor, our strength, our wisdom, directly from Source. And as we move a little closer to that still place, we ask this morning for help, for us to understand what is presented this morning in the message. Clear away those clouds that obscure our mind from that wisdom that we know is already present, and allow Spirit into our understanding, that we may discern exactly what it is that we need to put to use in our life right now. And we take that from here into each now moment of our life and and put it to use in a practical way. And so let us move into that silence and open ourselves to Spirit. From that still place within, let us begin to feel that love. Big love. The love that binds us together as one. The one in whom we live and move and have our being. The good. Big love. And it is with gratitude. Gratitude not for any one thing, just a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude so big that you can't separate it from love. It is compassion. It is love. It is the feeling of plenty. Knowing that we are cared for and we are loved with a love that can never be denied. It is never deserving and it is always there. Big love. And so we say thank you, and so it is. Amen. And I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I know we did. I ate too much. I got to spend time with family. It was really wonderful to see the whole table full. So, most of you know that I was just recently returned from a trip to Mexico on retreat with James Twyman, where I was ordained and get to wear my new stole. Thank you. So this morning I wanted to share a little bit more about the trip, and not so much the pictures this time from the beautiful Ajijic at Lake Chapala in Mexico. No, this time I want to share more the practical side of what it is that we did together. You know, when people ask me, well, what did you do down there for a week? And I say, well, we prayed and we meditated. They almost didn't seem to believe me. How can you pray and meditate for a whole week? And all I can say is it was wonderful. But there was a little bit of instruction that went along with helping us to find that place, that still place inside, that Christ consciousness. And so there was a book that was written. Have I got a slide show, David? Oh, the book's called The Cloud of Unknowing. And it was written by It was written by someone we don't know their name. And you know, whenever we get that wisdom, does it really come from us? So I almost think like maybe this person didn't put their name to it on purpose because they knew that they didn't write it themselves, but no, Spirit working through them wrote it. It was written in Middle English. So unlike a lot of the works at that time, which is, we're talking about the late 1300s, most of the works at that time were written in Latin. If it was in Europe, if it was closer to the Orient, it was written in Greek. But this one was written in Middle English. But believe me, it still needs translation because the Middle English is quite different, even than King James English. But it's an advice that was given to a student by someone who is more senior in contemplation. Now, contemplation is just another word for what we do in unity we call affirmative prayer and meditation. So don't let it be confusing. It's not really that fancy of a word. It's just another word for our affirmative prayer and meditation. Some of you may remember Reverend Carol gave a talk with the exact same title. She referred to the cloud of unknowing as a reference to the nature of God. That we can't really know what God is, or if you could even say who God is. They're just something that's so vast, so complicated, so all-encompassing, can't be put into words. If whatever word we use, it's not going to be right because it's not going to be enough. There's no language that comes even close. So that's one way of looking at the cloud of unknowing. The author of the book refers to the cloud of unknowing and a darkness. Not a darkness in the sense of, when my eye is single, then I'll have the light, but if I don't have the light, the eye is single, I'll have darkness. Not in that way. Not in any sense of any kind of, I'm going to use the E word, not in any kind of sense of an evil thing or a bad thing. But no, a darkness because there's no language. If you try to shine the light of language into that darkness, it is consumed by the vastness of the cloud of unknowing. And it's always there. There is this cloud of unknowing between us and that Christ consciousness. Now that sounds a little strange, but it might sound a little more clear as we go through the talk. So while we were down there in a class, James Francis presented us with this pyramid to help us to understand our spiritual growth. We began in the ordinary. That's the term that's used in the cloud of unknowing, the ordinary. This is where we start from. All of the things that happen, we go to dinner, we have friends, we go to dances when we're at school. These normal daily activities. We shop, we go to work, we go to school. All of those things happen in the ordinary. It's kind of like our starting place. And there's not only pleasant things that we do in the ordinary, but there is suffering. Sometimes it's hard not to see anything but the suffering. But that suffering can be just the cattle prod that we need to get us on the move. You don't know what a cattle prod is? It's a wand that's got electric charge on it. And when you want the big bull who weighs more than 3 times your weight to move from here to there, sometimes you you pop him on his hind quarter with the cattle prod. It gives him a shock and makes him go forward. And suffering is sort of like that prodding. It's an uncomfortable state. And it makes us realize that we can't just stay where we're at. So if you look at the bottom of that pyramid, it says, the world I see holds nothing that I want. So when you've been shopping and you buy these things you think are going to make you happy and they don't, and then you go the next day to find what is that one thing that maybe it's a pair of shoes that's going to really make me feel good about myself, and so you see just the right shoes and you get them, you buy them, and you carry them home, and the next day you put on those shoes and, well, they were really wonderful in the store. I just thought they were going to be just exactly the thing. But they don't do it. I don't feel that same magic that I felt like before I had them. And now that I've got them, I'm going to need something else. When I was younger, I remember going to the clubs. It was supposed to be so much fun. And I went to the clubs and I said, I don't see the fun here. This isn't fun. It began to lose its luster. I just knew this wasn't the thing. So we quickly begin to realize that the world I see holds nothing that I want. But beyond this world, there is a world that I want. You see, we're wandering around down here on the bottom of the mountain. The mountain is an analogy for our spiritual growth. You know, when Moses wanted to be with God, he went up on the mountain and found the burning bush. And Jesus took his Peter and John up the mountain where he was transfigured. So there's this going up the mountain. There's this image. As we climb the mountain, we're moving closer to that presence that's always within us. So we don't physically have to climb a mountain. We go up the mountain within us. But it makes a really nice image. And so here we see, we're down here in the ordinary, and we have this spark. Something gives us this longing to climb the mountain. And so we begin the journey up the mountain. And the first thing we have to realize is humility. Now, this isn't the humility that says, I'm going to lay down and let the world run over me. That's not what is meant. That's not what Jesus meant when he said, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. No. That self in me that thinks that it's Dean has to be given less importance. I'm going to call it little Dean, okay? It needs the humility. And that has special meaning because my grandpa was Dean, so I was little Dean. So little Dean has to experience this humility so that big Dean, like big love, can shine that light. Alright, so to quote from the book, with an irresistible kindness, God nudged your desire awake. Fasten to it a leash of longing that led to the next level as we climb the mountain. So you could be God's servant in this world. We are all we are all expressions of God in this world. When we allow that. Well, we're going to be that whether we allow it or not. It's just how well are we going to do it? How true is our expression going to be to the intention of God? So we practice this humility where I get little Dean, kind of leashed up with the dog leash being led by the will, not my will, but thy will. We learn to live more abundantly. By giving that love, by giving generously, we open ourselves to receive. Our life becomes more spiritual. So we've come to know with our mind that there's more out there with our study, and we long for it. We give of ourselves and allow Spirit into our life as a guide. And then we experience the next step, which is awe. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when we look at the things that are around us, the trees, the landscape, we experience this love, this big love, this awe, and we can see that God is there. We don't have to look far. We can look in the eyes of a child and just see that in awe. When you feel the sunshine on you on a cool morning, and just how perfect it feels. Awe. No words now. There's no words for this big love, this awe. It's a feeling. We've moved from our head to our heart. And we begin to see the divine in everything and in everyone. We moved from head into heart. The heart is love. It's the faculty through which we receive love from being. From the heart we give love and we receive love. When we give that love by seeing it in others and in other everything, we create a room, a space within us for that love to flow back through us. And the more we continue to give, you see, we're beginning to create this cycle. Eric Butterworth called it in the flow of life. It's a flowing through. And unless we give, that flow doesn't start. Because if we're full already, there's no room for love to flow through us. We have to give to create the space that allows then that love to flow through. So, we receive love from being. It is the center from which divine substance is poured forth. That's our heart. Everyone uses their heart center when they send forth a loving thought. So that's what I was saying. We send it and we receive it. We continue to do this. It becomes our norm. Instead of just being something that we do once in a while when we think of it, it stays in our consciousness. And we begin to see more and more everybody, more and more everything is the divine. And it only makes sense. There's only one power. And power is everywhere present. So we see it everywhere. And the more we see it everywhere, the more it snowballs. And we begin to experience union. That oneness. So as we progress up the mountain. We get to the top of the mountain and we feel that union. Alright, so we've talked about this and I've set the stage, but here at Unity, we want to put it to use. We need a practical tool. So what is the tool here? Lift up your heart to God with a gentle stirring of love. Focus on Him alone. Want Him. Now, don't let this pronoun Him get in your way. We know God can't be limited by language. God can't be limited by gender. But we got to say something. And if I say it, I just don't feel that warm feeling. So we can say her if you like. Just hear her instead. Forget what you know. Forget everything that God made and everybody who exists and everything that's going on in the world until your thoughts and your emotions aren't focused on reaching toward anything. Let them be, just for the moment. Don't care about anything. Alright. So here we are at the top of the mountain. And thoughts start coming at us. We're having a lot of trouble letting go of all that other stuff. So see, now when we're at the top of the mountain, there's these clouds below us. That's the cloud of forgetting. We let those thoughts just fall below that cloud and they're gone. So that we only focus on that higher vibration. And how do we do that? With love. Not a feeling of love, it's a being of love. It's being love. Even meditating on God's love comes between us and God. Because love becomes a thought. You see? Any thought is between us and that experience. That's the cloud of unknowing. Thoughts will come. Just tell them to go away. Thought, you don't have any power over to help me to find that presence within me. Go away. Sit back down and be still. And here I am again. I've got another story to tell you, but I've run out of time. There's just not enough time in the day. Have you ever had that feeling? And it's a story about a king in a castle. It's a good story.
Could you tell us anyway?
All right, do my best. All right, so there was the king. And he had a huge castle. But he didn't have enough time or energy to keep it all clean and to keep it all upkept. So the king went to God and he said, God, I need a servant to help me to keep up this castle. And God said, okay, I'll give you a servant, but there's two conditions. You have to always keep the servant busy. He can never be idle. And you can't give him back. So the king thinks about it and says, well, it's a huge castle. I don't think I'll have any trouble keeping that servant busy. So I'll take it. So at first, everything's great. The castle's getting all cleaned up. He's keeping the servant busy like crazy. So years go by and everything's hunky-dory. And then the king starts realizing, oh wow, I think everything's just about done. What am I going to do? I mean, I'm going to have to do something because I'm running out of things for the servant to do. So I'm going to ask God to take it back. So he calls on God. He says, God, I need you to take the servant back. And God said, There was 2 conditions. You got to keep him busy and you can't give him back. But since you came to me and you asked and you were nice and you're a good king, I'm gonna let you have a hint. Here's the hint. Have the servant to build a wall. And then climb up and down the wall. And that'll keep him busy. That's the story. Now, do you get it? Get it? So, the king is that Christ consciousness in us. The servant is our ego. We keep the ego busy climbing up and down the wall, we can be in the quiet and stillness. So what is climbing up the wall? It could be something like a song, a chant, you know. Keep your ego consciousness busy with singing a song, or saying a mantra, or doing the dishes, or walking, or, you know, prayer beads, where you just one bead, then the next bead, keeps that servant busy so that we can open ourselves up. So that was just another tool. Now, let's practice a little song that'll help us keeping that servant going up and down the wall. And I want you to sing along with me when you get the hang of it, once you figure out where we're at. It's really simple. There's what, 5 words there, maybe? Maybe 6. So that's the idea, though. When you're going up and down a wall, it's not really complicated. You just keep them busy. The more complicated it is, the more the effort's going to have to go into the thought. Yeah. So Amy and I have never played guitar together. Here, we haven't. So we're going to give that a go with y'all this morning, and we're going to do this song. And again, as you get it, please join in. And David, if you could give me a little bit of reverb on my microphone now. I'm going to have to tune my guitar, and then I want you to unmute that too. This song is just meant to be very repetitive and just kind of lull our consciousness into a little deeper place. I love it. All right. The peace of God is shining in me now. The peace of shining in me now. Next time I'll bring my bass guitar. Yeah.
That would have been nice. Well, thank you. That was actually, I didn't realize we were going to do that part of this talk. So we're going to go ahead and stand and continue with the service, which is going to be I Send My Love, which is beautiful timing for that song. God just told me to pick it, so I'm telling you, God is good, ain't he? All the time. As I send my love over the mountains, another Karen Drucker song.
Oh.
There's a theme going here.
Yeah, how about that?